What up, people? Welcome to another edition of In Real Life. And we're going to get right into it because this is going to be a very interesting topic we get into today. And the topic is part two of Mr. Right versus Mr. Right Now. But before we do get into that, I just want to let you all know that this podcast, as well as others in the Jazzy Groove Rainy Day podcast family, are brought to you by the power of five. Like what we do, support the channel, keep it growing. Okay, enough of the trivial BS. Now on to the meat and potatoes of today's topic. And that is Mr. Right versus Mr. Right Now. Now, as we stated before, Mr. Right is him. He's that guy who ticks all your boxes. He's that guy that does it for you. You have a plethora of rules, and he just gets it. He is the guy. Mr. Right Now is the guy that'll do in a pinch. He's also the guy that you may have that laundry list of qualities you look for in a man, and he'll make you break every last one of them, bar none. You got a rule, he's breaking it. Because he is also that guy. He's just that guy for the moment. Mr. Right is long term, Mr. Right Now is short term. Now, I was perusing the internet. Excuse me. I was perusing the internet and found this article by Canadian Living entitled "How to Tell the Difference between How to Tell the Difference Between Mr. Right and Mr. Right Now." It was done in 2012, and it's one of those articles and topics that simply stand the test of time. Without further ado, let's get into it and let's get active. Okay. How to tell the difference between Mr. Right and Mr. Right Now. All women have a type of man that they are typically attracted to. Whether he is tall, dark, and handsome, or athletic, strong, and funny, you consider him your Mr. Right. But what if your Mr. Right is really your Mr. Right Now and not necessarily the man who will give you happily ever after? Knowing the category in which to place your partner is key. I'm going to stop. And I'm going to stop because we'll get into the different guidelines to determine which group he falls into. But we're going to apply some common sense to the equation. Shout out to my sister podcast, Common Sense, and all the work that you guys do. But let's look at it from a practical standpoint. As stated, Mr. Right is your long-term solution. He's that guy that you would kill to get with. He's that guy that would bring your mother happiness, your father pride, and he just does it for you. Mr. Right Now may not necessarily be the type you bring home to mother or father, but he gets you aroused. He stimulates you. And let's be honest, you know who is who. And you know which is which. When you peel back all the layers, at the end of the day, you know. Because as I stated at an earlier podcast, Women know within the first 5 minutes if they're going to have sex with the guy that they meet. They also know pretty soon after that if they think they're onto a winner. It's up to the women to vet the guy. And when I say vet, I mean vet. Do a deep dive. Cursory stuff doesn't work anymore. Do a deep dive. Make sure that this guy is for real. Make sure he's legit. Because Mr. Right Now doesn't matter. Because he's a fling. But then again, that being said, there shouldn't be a Mr. Right Now. And that's something else that a lot of women get wrong in the dating marketplace. Mr. Right Now is a very nice way of calling someone a placeholder boyfriend. I'll say that again. Mr. Right Now is a very nice way of saying that the guy is a placeholder boyfriend. You don't see a future with him. You don't see anything after the weekend with him. But God, he looks good. Is that someone that you would take seriously? And let's not forget, being that women are the gateholders or gatekeepers, I should say, to sex, then it stands to reason that guys will acclimate to the demands of the woman because you guys have what we want, and we want sex. So again, I'll say it. If women were to stand up as one and say, hold on, we're not giving you guys anything until you put a ring on it. Watch how fast guys will put a ring on it. Some guys will be like, wait a minute, hold on. I don't know if I want to do that. And some guys will not do it. And I'm thinking a lot of the chats won't do it until the pressure cuts to a point where it's like, look, I need to get off and she wants to marry me before she gives me anything. I better do it. But for the most part, guys will adapt. But what hurts women is hypergamy. And hypergamy, for those who don't know, is the proclivity for women to want the best that they could get. And these days, unfortunately for women, it's fluid. Never used to be. When they got married, that was the best they could do. Would there be times where they would look around and say, well, I should have gotten with that? Yeah, but that was their lot. They made the decision and they stuck to it. It is what it is. They're guys, for the most part, excuse me, for the most part, their guys were good guys. They provided, they protected, they did things with the family in mind. Would some of them stray? Yeah, some would. But guys, for the most part, They're happy to have one. And that's something that I think a lot of guys don't really understand. The average guy would be over the moon with just one girl. Over the moon. He wouldn't go anywhere. He wouldn't do anything. His whole existence would be around this girl, and as an extension, the family that this girl could potentially bring him. Would he cheat? It's possible, but not probable. Because again, he's all in. This is my woman. I wanted her. Surprised she wanted me back. She took my ring. She took my last name. I'm going to live up to my end of the bargain. I just hope she does too. But even then, it's like they're not even thinking that far ahead. They're thinking, I've got her. Here's my happily ever after. But because most women see most guys as unattractive, the guys that would give them what they want don't get a second look. And that's not fair. That's not kind. That's not just. That's not right. They don't get a. They are, for all intents and purposes, invisible. And that's the guy. That's the your garbage man, your postman, your store clerk, your bus driver, your train driver, your cab driver. Not to mention um, the intern, the the office worker. Even a lot of those office workers are invisible because they are average. And for some godforsaken reason, average has become a bad word. I don't know how. It just has become one. And what is average? Average is right in the middle. Average is ordinary. And average could be boring. But average is stable and average is dependable. And those two words most women don't even think about. I want to be excited. Yeah, until you realize you can't get Mr. Excitement anymore. Then it's a problem. But I digress. I'm getting way off topic. Let's bring it back down. And let's see about this all these things here. First one is fatal attraction. Your physical connection with someone should not be the first item on your Mr. Right checklist. According to Kimberly Moffitt, a Toronto-based psychotherapist and counselor, women will also often notice that with a Mr. Right now, the physical attraction outweighs the long-term emotional bond. And again, that goes back to common sense. Mr. Right Now makes you feel good. You want Mr. Right Now. Whether he ticks your boxes or not is completely immaterial. He makes you wet. You gotta have him. That's Mr. Right Now. If your partner learned the thread count of your sheets before your middle name, you might want to reconsider his chance of becoming long-term relationship material. I can find no fault with that logic. None whatsoever. If your partner learned the thread count of your sheets before your middle name, you might want to reconsider his chance of becoming long-term relationship material. And as I stated earlier, he might not be someone you want to talk to at the beginning of the week. He was just your right now option. The next topic is cat got his tongue. As women, it is in our DNA to consider and question the next steps in a relationship. While Mr. Right will happily discuss the future, Mr. Right now dodges the topic at all costs. And the reason why he dodges the topic is because you're not someone he wants. There are two sides to that coin. Mr. Right now might be someone that you fancy for a night or for a weekend, but Mr. Right now wants to hit it. And that's all he wants. He's not your cup of tea. You're not his cup of tea. Leave him alone. But no, you won't do that. You won't do that because you're inebriated, you're at a club, the night's winding down, and you're horny. And that's what most guys I know are go out on the prowl looking to take somebody home. And those are your Mr. Right Nows. If you meet a guy at a club, he's a Mr. Right Now. Can you find a Mr. Right at the club? Yes, you can. But it's very highly unlikely that you will. Because guys looking for a long-term relationship don't go to clubs. I met my missus. Where did I meet her? I met her at my house. We had a bunch of people come over, and my friend was seeing this girl. She was an au pair, and she had some friends, and she was like, "Can my friends come?" And we said, "Sure. The more the merrier." And she was one of the girls that came. It is what it is. But I met her outside of a club. Now, did we go clubbing? Yes, we did. But we were already an item when we went clubbing. If phrases such as, "I am really enjoying spending time with you right now," or "let's just enjoy what we have," are used by your significant other, it may be time to consider whether he visualizes you in his future. To which I say, duh. The key word is right now. If a guy says, "I'm really enjoying spending time with you," and leaves it at that, you got to keep her. But if he says, I am really enjoying spending time with you right now, he doesn't see a future, so you shouldn't see a future. Or he doesn't want to see a future. But again, a lot of women, because they feel they can change a guy, won't think that way. Because they feel that they can change you, and and they are going to be the ones to tame that wild horse. They're going to stick it out. I knew somebody who was once seeing this guy, and the guy came flat out and said, I don't want a relationship. Now, normally, that would be it. They go, okay, if you change your mind, I'm here. Otherwise, see you around. And would go. And if the guy changes his mind, he would then think about pursuing her. But not this girl. Nope, 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 nope. She said, he doesn't want me, so I'm going to get him. And I'm going to pursue him relentlessly until he gives in. Why? Because he didn't want her, and she couldn't take that. Couldn't see that then. All I saw was, you're making a mistake, you need to leave him alone. But knowing now what I know now, he rejected you, and you couldn't have that. Nobody, but nobody, talked like that to this girl. Surprise! Somebody did. Again, it is what it is. Let us continue. Fails to remember. How well your significant other listens and retains information may determine his long-term commitment. That goes into my little things argument. It's not the big things that is said, not the big actions. It's the little ones. If you tell a story to a guy, later on the guy goes, yeah, I remember that. I remember you telling me that. That should be a positive in your playbook. Because he's thinking enough of you to remember what you said. Mr. Right will do that. Mr. Right now, no. He's in it for the moment. And again, women would be wise to steer clear of him. But they won't, because most guys are invisible and they all want the same type of guy. The top 10%, the top 5%, the Chad, the Tyrone, the Pookie, the Ray Ray, the Enrique. That's who they want. That's what they want. And until they come correct, it's never ever going to change. backup plan. Flattery gets you everywhere. Erratic lifestyle. We're going to quickly go through those backup plan. Um, Mr. Right now may engage in spur of the moment dates instead of planning ahead for something special. Flattery gets you everywhere. Um, it is essential that you pay special attention to your significant other's choice of words. Erratic lifestyle. Stability. Again, aka average, ordinary, boring, stable, reliable. If guys treated girls the way girls treated guys, things should be a lot different. That's why the mantra for this show going forward, as well as others, will be to think about yourself. Because Mr. Right is Mr. Stable, it's Mr. Average, it's Mr. Reliable, it's Mr. Committed. He knows what he wants and he knows how to get it for the most part. And although a lot of guys may be deficient on how to get a girl, once they get them, it's smooth sailing because the guy he'll bend over backwards to make sure he stays with her. So you want someone who's stable, which means you're going to leave. That means in an ideal world, you leave the Chads and Tyrones alone because they're not stable. And at the same time, you have to be stable. That means no more flaking. If you say you're going to do something, do it. You should be able to set your watch to what you say to a guy. If I'm going to call you at 5, it shouldn't be 5:15, 5:20, and you still haven't heard from the girl yet. If you hear from her at all. As relationship builds and progresses, then you can start doing things they may not call straight away. They'll call. I'm not worried about it. But in the beginning, when you're just meeting each other and feeling each other out, stuff like that is key. Core values. When feelings begin to intensify in relationship, it is important that you consider whether your partner's core beliefs are parallel to yours. Again, duh. A lot of this stuff that they're saying, you already know. Or if you don't know, you should know them. Because a lot of these things just make sense. Often, what makes for conflict in a relationship is when people have competing principles. From your sex life to maintaining your household to future plans, it is imperative that you and your Mr. Right share the same core values and beliefs when it comes to commitment. And the key word there is commitment. Once you cross that threshold, once the guy says, you know what, I like you, I can see myself with you, will you be my girlfriend? Once that threshold is crossed, that's when you really start thinking about commitments and future plans and things like that. Because now you're starting to build that future. A lot of girls get that twisted with, he has sex with me, he's the one for me. That's emotions talking. And if a guy can see where you're coming from, and let's face it, a lot of girls, they don't hide it anymore. They go, oh, she's for the streets. Plunk, sex only. And remember, we curb you silently. We come see you at night after dark. When we go out, we don't take you with us. You don't know who our friends are. You don't know who our family is. You might not even know where we live. It is what it is. And that part's not right. That's not fair. That's not kind. That's not just. It's part of the game. Last but not least, personal agenda. Now I'm going to read all of this and we will then break it down. According to Moffat, you are either ready for a long-term relationship or you are not. She advises steering clear from recently single or recently divorced men, as well as those who are looking to heal past demons, as these factors increase the likelihood of your relationship becoming a short-lived romance. If stability and long-term talk is not there, then he is probably a Mr. Right Now, Moffat says. A man with long-term material has overcome past issues and has stabilized his wandering eye and is ready to put his focus on you. Duh. Is he lying? But all of this that I've read for you, all that you know already, is stuff that in the back of your mind, you know is true. You'd never admit it because it would hurt your ego. But when push comes to shove, it's true. And it is what it is. Mr. Right is not Mr. Right Now. Mr. Right Now, and Mr. Right Now is very rarely Mr. Right because the criteria for those two state of being is inherently different. Mr. Right is long term. Mr. Right Now is short term. And it's very rare that someone short term can become Mr. Long term. Unless the person who's Mr. Right Now is actually vetting for a future. But that in itself is rare. Don't confuse the two. And if you want to settle down, have a family, it's about time you stop looking for Mr. Right now and focus your sights on obtaining Mr. Right. And with that, we come to the end of part 2 of Mr. Right versus Mr. Right Now. I'll put a link to this article in the description box. Feel free to read it at your leisure. It didn't do much for me because I already knew this stuff. But for those who didn't know, it's an eye-opener. It may give you insight on things you wouldn't think about before. And anything that makes you think has to be a good thing. Speaking of thinking, let's stop thinking and start doing. We operate in the power of 5 here. And let's think about hitting the like button. If that's the only thing you do today, do it. It makes the YouTube algorithm say, ooh, they like this. So I'm going to start giving this to other people. They may like it too. And that's how we grow. There are other things about it, and I'm sure you know them. I say them enough at the end of every video. So I'm not going to bother you with them now. But they're all things that you can do. They're all free, and they all help us grow. So once again, thank you for allowing me to come to you and give you another point of view. That's all I'm here for. And until the next, I'm out here, y'all. Peace.